Hey guys, Creator Mom. So if you're the type of person who has felt awful for considering the ways that your narcissistic parent harmed you growing up, I'm going to read this, and I think this is going to help set you free. So this is chapter 45 of Growing Up as a Scapegoat to a Narcissistic Parent. I might not read all of it, but I'm going to read what I highlighted. So chapter 45 is called Trust What the Narcissist Shows You, Not What You Hope to See. Okay, and here's some discovery questions that you can answer yes or no to. Is it hard to believe that your own parent mistreated you? Do you often doubt your perception of your narcissistic parent and wonder if you are being too hard on them? Do you assume that others will think you are wrong if you tell them how you feel in relation to your narcissistic parent? Scapegoat survivors of narcissistic abuse often find it very difficult to take the narcissist's behavior toward them at face value. This makes sense. As a child, the relationship with the parent had to be more important than the scapegoat child's own well-being. The child didn't have the option of trusting what the narcissistic parent was showing them. Who else did they have to go to? Instead, the scapegoat child had to come up with elaborate mental games that afforded sympathy toward the narcissistic parent. In the process of recovery, whether in therapy or in nurturing friendships and relationships, the survivor grows to trust that there are alternate sources of connection for them. Now it can seem possible that they feel good, protected, respected with other safe people. As these new experiences and relationships take root, the scapegoat survivor finds it easier to take the narcissistic parent's behavior towards them at face value. Now the survivor gets to prioritize how they felt in relation to the narcissistic parent instead of thinking about the rationale for why the narcissist may have felt compelled to treat them this way. The scapegoat survivor is empowered to trust the behaviors that other people show them. They can more reliably populate their lives with people who consistently behave toward them in ways that make them feel accepted and like things are running well. All right, so the next section, the self-centered world of narcissistic parenting. Sometimes when a scapegoat survivor reflects on how a narcissistic parent mistreated them, they find themselves thinking sympathetically about the plight of their parent. This can drown out their experience and suffering. Scapegoat survivors may say things like, I really don't think they intended to hurt me so badly, or they had a really bad childhood themselves and did not know any different. Now the scapegoat survivor is caught wondering more about the narcissist's intentions and history than their own personal well-being, right? Because I think we're taught it's not okay to care more about your own personal well-being, than a parent or whatever. This makes good psychological sense. If you are a child to the narcissistic parent, you are also biologically motivated to preserve the bond to the parent. So he goes on to say here, this is really good. He says, therapy is one form of a safe relationship. He goes, in my work as a therapist, I listened for vestiges of this initial sacrifice that the child of a narcissistic parent has had to make. One of the main ways that the sacrifice of the self can live on is in the topic discussed here. The focus on the narcissistic parent's reasons or hardships that led to their abusive behavior towards the survivor. When this happens, I do whatever I can to empower the survivor to focus on how they felt in relation to the narcissist rather than the person's intention or history. And And this is really cool, because if you tell somebody, like if you had an experience with telling family members about your narcissistic parent, the feedback you're most likely going to get is, oh, well, that's your parent, forgive them, they went through a lot, right? Like, you should be thinking about what they went through. But here we're told to consider ourselves, consider how we feel around the person, all right? Not why they did what they did and blah, blah, blah. Scapegoat survivors often find it radical to consider that they can base their conclusions about another person, including a narcissistic abuser, on how they feel in relation to that person. Most scapegoat survivors have had their own reality questioned, undermined, and invalidated so much that their own feelings do not feel like they're enough to base conclusions upon, right? Have you ever felt like that? Like, oh, you have to check. You can't trust your feelings, you know, or that's not enough. Instead, they've had to do mental gymnastics. I got disrupted. Hold on. All right. Instead, they've had to do, not disrupted, interrupted. I'm sorry. Is that the same? Instead, they've had to do mental gymnastics to justify the narcissistic parents' malevolent perspective of them at the cost of possessing themselves.